Have you ever wondered how we see colors? Well, humans are trichromats. That means that we have different pigments in 3 different types of cells called cone cells. There are S cone cells, M cone cells, and L cone cells. And each one of these has a sensitivity to a range of the electromagnetic spectrum.
The S cells have peak sensitivity at wavelengths of around 440 nanometers, which is blue light. The M cells at around 540 nanometers, which is green light, and the L cells at around 570 nanometers, which is yellowy light, and these cells also play an important role in seeing red.
And these cone cells are dotted all over the backs of our retinas, such that when light hits, they all get activated, or at least those that are sensitive to the light hitting our eyes gets activated.
With just these 3 receptor types, it's estimated that the average human eye can distinguish around 10 million different colors. And in 1931, the International Commission on Illumination published a chart that defines the limits of human vision.
So we've got this electromagnetic range that we call the color spectrum, but what if there was another dimension to it? What if there were imaginary colors? Well, some wizards at the University of California, Berkeley tested this idea.
Professor Ren Ung and his team built a sophisticated system that makes test subjects see colors they ordinarily could not see.
And they called this system Oz.
Not for Australia, but the Wizard of Oz. Hold on, it'll make sense in a minute.
So what did these wizards do? Well, the first thing they did was to map out the positions of the L, M, and S cone cells on their subjects' retinas.
It's a precision job. There are over 6 million cone cells in the retina, so the team focused on only about 1,000. Each of those was only 2.5 thousandths of a millimeter in diameter. They used infrared light to determine the type of each cone cell in the zone.
Why is this important? Well, notice that whenever your M cells are stimulated, there's an overlap with the L cells and the S cells. Another way to say that is, there is never a time in your life in which light of a certain frequency can hit your M cells without also activating your L cells or your S cells. We're going to look at 543 nanometers up here, so let's just use these 2. So normally when you see that wavelength of light, it activates mostly M cells, but also L cells, and the information feeds down the nerves to your brain, and your brain interprets the ratio of those signals to tell you what color you're seeing. Sound good? Well, what did they do in this experiment? They used their knowledge of the exact position of all of the cone cells to aim the laser that was at 543 nanometers only at the M cells, dropping the L cells out of the equation.
The apparatus to do this is incredible. Adaptive optics track the cells as the subject's eye moves, and then precisely fire microdoses of the laser to stimulate the specific cone cells. That laser at 543 nanometers is green colored.
So for the first time in their lives, the subjects were seeing what that frequency looked like when it only hit the M type of cells and did not include stimulation of the L cells. And what did they see? They saw a color that looks very much like this, a teal, except that it was hypersaturated. They named this new color Olo. They had never seen it before, and when the wizards turned the lasers off, they never saw it again. They were pulled back into the mundane world of regular color.
So naming this system after a magician who created a shining emerald city makes sense. You might ask, how can you describe a color you've never seen before? The subjects were shown a color chart to compare against and added in white light to desaturate the stimulus laser to match the chart, thereby showing Olo is hypersaturated.
Now, news reports have suggested that these are the only 5 people in the world to have ever seen the color Olo, calling it an imaginary color. But I've got an issue with this. because there are millions of people in the human population who are colorblind. And what that means is just that their cone cells may not work. So anybody who normally does not have their L cone cells working for whatever reason may only see using M and S cells. Wouldn't these people see OLO every time a wavelength of 543 nanometers struck their eyes? Maybe they would. Maybe, since they've been doing that their whole lives, their brain would interpret it differently. It might look something like this, or it might look exactly like OLO.
We know other animals can see light that we cannot. Reindeer, for example, can see UV light to help spot lichen to eat. Salmon can switch on infrared vision to better see in murky waters as they migrate uprivers to spawn. And some animals have more than 3 color detecting cone cells. It's even hypothesized that some humans could have tetrachromacy, sensitivity to 4 channels of color. See the link below. And what would that look like? Well, who knows?
In actuality, none of us know what anybody else is perceiving. We're told the name of this color, but I don't know that it looks the same to me as it does to you. Perception is the editor of reality. And so in that sense, we're all in the magical world of Oz. So hopefully this research will help us study color vision well into the future. Remember that between the question and the answer are all of the really tasty bits. How am I looking? Am I looking popular? I'm defying gravity. Woo! Okay, that's enough of that. That's enough of that.